Did you ever watch the famous Disney film The Lion King as a child? If you did, you'll remember Scar in his cave with his group of howling hyenas. He always overdramatically complains, "I'm surrounded by idiots." I offer this example because many of us have similar feelings at work. We can't help but see our coworkers as those hyenas, wondering what the hell is wrong with them and why anyone would do anything like that. However, the key word to understand why that happens is the perception. The perception is more important than we realize. Of course, our coworkers are not merely stupid, but we may have opposing personality types that cause us to be surprised by the perception of their behavior. These personality types can be classified into 4 groups that resemble 4 colors: dominant or red, inspiring or yellow, stable or green, and analytical or blue. And in the next chapters, we will look at different personality types and how they influence human behavior. Welcome to Colorful Show. Today we will summarize Surrounded by Idiots book that talks about relationships between different personalities and how to analyze individual's personality to be able to deal with him successfully without misunderstanding or annoying him. Chapter 1: Red and Yellow Personalities. If you're preparing a presentation for your work, what factors do you think will influence its design? You could be looking for hard data or statistics that indicate your company's success. You might wish to use attractive images, a pleasing design, or some funny comments to keep your audience engaged. Perhaps, at the end, you'll tie it all together with a short and general summary that explains exactly what you want your audience to do with the knowledge you've just given them. Now, can you say, what may be the defect in that presentation? You could be tempted to say, nothing. That is an excellent presentation. And that's true, except for the fact that this presentation fails to consider the differences in your listeners' personality types. This is important since a room full of people can all have completely different perceptions of the message you just conveyed. That is entirely determined by variations in personality. So, if you want to learn how to properly connect with your audience and be truly successful in communication, it's important to study personality types and how our personalities influence how we listen, process information, and communicate. And we'll begin by looking at the first 2 types, red and yellow. The classification of personality types goes all the way back to the 5th century BC and was invented by the famous Greek philosopher Hippocrates. Red personality types are characterized by being irritable or unstable. This is regarding their negative side. They also have strong will, ambition, and the courage to express their thoughts. Reds will also be strong personalities, eager to take charge in any situation and make difficult decisions, even if they are unpopular. To properly explain reds, we mention those examples of famous people having red personalities: Steve Jobs, Margaret Thatcher, and Barack Obama. This can demonstrate that while the reds can be tough at times, they are not terrible. Instead, they have strong personalities that can get things done, which is a positive character attribute. Yellows, on the other hand, are at the opposite extreme of the spectrum. Consider yellow personalities to be that cheerful lady from high school, the guy you know who can sell anything to anyone, or that one friend who can put a positive perspective on anything. Yellow personalities are consistently chirpy, pleasant, and cheery. They've never met a stranger, and anyone who knows them will notice that they're physically incapable of remaining silent. Although this may irritate other personality types, the beneficial aspects of a yellow personality always exceed the annoying ones because they are continuously positive and supportive. Chapter 2: Green and Blue Personalities. Our last 2 personality kinds are greens and blues. They are not only different from the personalities that were described in the previous section, but they are also vastly different from one another. The greens want a steadier keel, where the reds are dominant and like to take charge, and yellows like to keep everything pleasant and light. Greens, referred to by Hippocrates as the phlegmatic temperament, are stable but unyielding. They desire to maintain a quiet and comfortable environment and as a result, are unwilling to accept any changes that can disrupt it. This implies they're also unlikely to look for a leading role, preferring to go with the flow instead. While the reds and yellows may be annoyed by their hesitation to take risks, a green's traits make him an outstanding team member, supportive partner, and caring friend. Their desire to listen more than talk might also assist to balance off the noisy yellows. Now we will come to the last group. Blues are similar in some way to greens, yet very different and unique. Blues, like greens, desire a more stable environment. The reason why they prefer stability is that they are a pessimistic group. They always predict the worst. That's why they're called the sad group. People with this personality type tend to think of themselves as more realistic about the world than others. As a result, they are more likely to be depressed. Blues are also more prone to experience anxiety, which might impair their effectiveness at work. For example, they may worry over every detail of a project to the point that it takes forever, or they feel it's never good enough to be finished. These personality types are also more reserved and introverted, therefore, they are unlikely to express an opinion unless directly requested. Many of these characteristics can bother energetic reds and brilliant yellows, as both personality types are braver and more likely to take charge in any given circumstance. But that doesn't mean one personality type is superior or more significant than another, or that we should avoid working with people who are different from ourselves. Instead, we can improve our awareness of each personality type and learn how to get along with them. Based on our fast review of personality types, we can conclude that red and blue are goal-oriented and prioritize achievements such as solving issues or task completion. So, while they may have different underlying attitudes or orientations to life, they do share some characteristics. Similarly, green and yellow differ in many respects, but they are more socially aware than red and blue. Finally, it's clear that blue and green have more conservative personalities, but red and yellow are more adventurous. Now that we've discovered the 4 basic personality types, we may dig a little deeper and investigate the details that shape each of us. Look at yourself and your own characteristics to realize that people are rarely summed up by a single personality type. Instead, we are all a combination of a few different characteristics. It is probable to be a lively, cheery yellow while also possessing certain qualities more typical of the dominating red. These details shape who we are, determining what careers we are most suited for and the types of friends and partners we choose. Chapter 3: When Personalities Collide. It's obvious that personality differences can lead to conflicts. When people are as different as reds and blues, it's not unexpected that misunderstandings occur, leading them to believe that working together is impossible. That is why correcting myths is essential for establishing a more diverse workplace. The first stage to stop misinterpreting others is to learn more about each personality's qualities so that we may comprehend what they are and are not. A yellow's chattiness, for example, may be viewed as uncomfortable or attention-seeking by a more reserved blue. Therefore, a blue colleague may develop anger against a yellow colleague, believing that they continually attempt to control the topic or dominate others. However, from yellow's point of view, they're just being their pleasant selves, always ready with a suggestion, a humorous story, or a grin. They see nothing wrong with being outspoken and talkative, and they are prone to be puzzled by a blue's reservations, misunderstanding it for rudeness, disagreement, or a lack of personality. Because yellows are constantly having new ideas, they may expect people to communicate in the same way they do by immediately intervening without understanding why a blue feels the need to be given time, space, and an explicit request to express their ideas. As a result, a yellow who works closely with blues may easily conclude that they are surrounded by idiots. Similarly, blues may fail to recognize yellows as the talented communicators that they are. This misunderstanding can lead to an excessive focus on differences. When, instead, a yellow should appreciate the blues' realism and attention to detail, and blues should recognize that their yellow colleagues can be helpful when it comes to speaking up, taking charge, and handling social situations. Chapter 4: Don't underestimate the quiet ones. The reputation of quiet individuals being creepy, strange, or losers has always existed. Even today, it generates an untrue stigma for blue and green personality types. Because reds and yellows are both active and eager to speak up, they may misunderstand a green coworker's natural quietness as withdrawn, obscure, or even suspicious. Blues are frequently mislabeled as dull, miserable, or gloomy. These unfavorable preconceptions can cause disagreements and distrust among teammates. But there's good news. It doesn't have to be that way. You may be surprised to discover that greens are the most frequent personality type in the world, which is a good thing because they're great team members. Indeed, the greens are far better at collaboration than reds and yellows, who can be viewed as overly eager to reach their own goals. Greens are quiet and avoid conflict, but they are loyal and eager to put the interests of others ahead of their own. Although the reds and yellows are unlikely to value routine, green believes that routine equals satisfaction. In fact, you can almost certainly bet that your green coworker has a carefully planned routine, on which they rely for a sense of comfort and safety during the workday. So, if you've seen that your colleague consistently eats his breakfast at the same time or in the same order, don't rush in to alert him about the expected meeting. Instead, give him some time to finish his routine, and recognize that the patience you practice now will result in a better relationship in the long term. While it may be easy to appreciate a coworker's choice for sticking to his routine, it may be more difficult to respect a green's reluctance to accept an unusual concept, take a risk, or try an alternative method of doing things. This is because greens' intrinsic desire for stability occasionally causes them to oppose change, which might irritate other personality types. However, this does not imply that people with green personalities are difficult to deal with or incapable of change. Rather, it could simply mean that you must speak with your coworker and listen to their concerns rather than working solely from a red perspective and dismissing their concerns or simply telling them everything will be fine. Now that we've addressed the typical misconceptions around greens, let's move on to our final personality type and look at what people misunderstand about blues. Because of their quiet character, the blue personality's natural realistic view may cause others to view them as pessimistic. Extroverted yellows may be especially susceptible to this idea because they frequently fail to comprehend why others prefer to remain quiet and stay to themselves. However, with a little practice and insight, this problem can be solved. The same can be said for other problems that may develop while working with detail-oriented blues. Although the reds, who value efficiency, and yellows, who aren't known for their attention to detail, may be upset by a blues obsession with double-checking everything, it's important for them to recognize that blues are perfectionists and detail-oriented. They take pleasure in reviewing everything to ensure that every step is taken correctly. It may irritate other personality types, but remember where your blue colleague is coming from, and respect how much they care about doing their best. Chapter 5: How to Communicate Effectively. From the previous you conclude that each personality type communicates differently. Understanding this is critical because once you've figured out how to communicate effectively with each personality type, you'll be an unstoppable force in building wonderful relationships in both your personal and professional life. So, let's look at what you can do, especially in difficult instances like offering helpful criticism. Many of us are sensitive to receiving criticism, whether it's on a professional project or our social behavior, and the tension can quickly build if that criticism isn't offered in an appropriately mindful manner. It can be much harder if you apply the incorrect tactics for someone's personality type. So, here's how you can succeed. It could help to know that the reds are some of the simplest individuals to communicate with. Because they value problem solving and efficiency, they will appreciate a straightforward approach that does not entail flattery or attempting to hide their feelings. While diplomacy is always important, a red will respect you for coming right to the point and being prepared with clear instances of the topic you'd like to discuss. This can be difficult if you are not a red personality, so be prepared to be powerful and assertive and don't allow them to frighten you. Because reds are naturally controlling, they may try to talk over you or use your hesitation as a reason to insist that you're in the wrong. Knowing this ahead of time can help you prepare the correct attitude for dealing with it. Yellows, on the other hand, necessitate a completely different strategy. When giving constructive criticism to a yellow, you don't want to come out as harsh or direct as you would to a red. Instead, keep things light, perhaps begin with a bit of humor, and don't be afraid to begin with pleasant small talk. Because yellow personalities enjoy a more lighthearted attitude, they are more likely to be comfortable by this indirect way of directing. If you approach them in the same way you would a red, you will most likely be met with resistance and damaged feelings. When it comes to difficult conversations, the reds and yellows do have one thing in common: the need to be prepared with precise points of discussion. Whereas a red may try to reject your argument until you have sufficient proof, a yellow may unintentionally pull you off subject due to their chatty personality. Because yellows are famous for their inability to keep talking seriously about one object, it's easy to leave a conversation feeling like you never got to your initial purpose. To avoid this, have a list of talking points ready that you can refer to keep the conversation on course. Finally, the writer offers a helpful recommendation for working with people of all personality types. Make sure you both talk about and agree on the meeting's significance. This is an excellent step for providing direct interaction between the two sides because it eliminates any possibility of misunderstandings. You might even advise that you both write down what you've agreed to, especially if it involves a significant modification to a project or workplace policy, as this can be extremely beneficial for habitually forgetful yellows. Chapter 6: Conclusion. It's natural to assume that we're surrounded by idiots. This is the outcome of misunderstanding the personality types of others. However, by devoting some time to studying how others communicate and process information, we can correct these misconceptions and enhance our communication skills. The first step is to determine the 4 primary personality types and their traits, which you have already done by watching this video. Now, if you are interested in this subject, you can complete digging in and read more details about it. Hope that you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos. Have a nice day.